He never built anything. My wife said it like it was fact. Flat. Cold. I didn't look at her. I kept my eyes on the table. She toyed. The judge leaned forward. Do you know what he actually did? Her lawyer didn't answer. That's when I knew something had shifted. I'm Daniel Reeves, 42. I've spent 20 years doing jobs nobody talks about. Long hours, quiet work, the kind you don't explain at dinner parties. My wife Laura used to say that's exactly what she liked about me, steady, reliable. But somewhere along the way, that changed. The hearing was supposed to be simple. A clean split of assets. That's what her lawyer had pushed for from the start. I agreed to almost everything. The house, the accounts, even the car she barely drove. I didn't argue, didn't interrupt. That bothered her more than anything else. She kept shooting me looks, like she wanted a reaction, like she needed one. But I stayed quiet because something felt wrong. Not just what she was saying in court, everything before it. The late night calls she took outside, the documents she suddenly stopped leaving lying around, the way her lawyer watched me like he was waiting for a mistake. I shouldn't have paid attention to all of it, but I did. And sitting there, listening to her say I'd never built anything, I realized she was counting on my silence. What she didn't know was that I wasn't the one in the dark. Laura and I hadn't always been like this. We met in our late 20s. Back then, I worked long shifts and came home exhausted, but everything was simple. She handled the day-to-day, bills, appointments, all of it. I trusted her. I never felt the need to check anything. That was my first mistake. About a year before the hearing, things started to shift. Small things first. She started taking calls in another room. Said it was work. She began leaving her phone face down, locking her laptop even when she just stepped out for a minute. I didn't ask questions. Not because I hadn't noticed, but because I wanted to see how far it would go. Then came the financial changes. She insisted on reorganizing our accounts, said it would make taxes easier. I let her, gave her access to everything. A few weeks later, I couldn't find certain records anymore. Nothing obvious, just gaps, missing statements, transfers that didn't quite add up. When I asked her about it, she brushed it off. Accounting errors, she said. I nodded, but I stopped ignoring what I was seeing. From then on, I started checking things myself, quietly, at night, early in the morning, whenever she wasn't around. And the more I looked, the less it made sense. It wasn't just money, something bigger was moving, and whatever it was, she didn't think I'd notice. The first real crack showed on a Tuesday evening. Laura was in the shower. Her phone sat on the kitchen counter. I didn't mean to look, but the screen stayed lit, longer than usual. A message came in. Everything will be ready before the hearing. No saved name, just a number. That wasn't normal. That is, I didn't touch the phone. I didn't need to. I memorized the number. The next morning I looked it up. It didn't take long. It traced it back to a small consulting firm. Legal and financial restructuring. Exactly the kind of firm you use when you're quietly moving things around. That's when the pattern suddenly made sense. The missing records, the account changes, the silence. She wasn't just organizing, she was preparing something. I still didn't confront her. Instead, I started documenting every transaction I still had access to, every account change, dates, times, screenshots. I even requested all statements directly from the bank. When they came in, the timeline became clear. Money wasn't disappearing, it was being shifted layer by layer into structures that didn't trace directly back to me. This wasn't chance. This had been planned over months, and the court date wasn't just a divorce. It was the final step. She thought she had everything under control. What she didn't know was that I'd already started putting it all back together. The truth didn't come all at once. It showed itself in pieces. A transfer here, a closed account there. Small amounts first, then larger ones. Always timed right before settlement deadlines. Clean, controlled, but not perfect. An archive statement showed a connection she'd overlooked. A linked account, not in her name or mine, but tied to one of our original joint transfers. I followed the trail. Then I saw the name, Evan Peak. I'd heard it before. It took a moment to place him. Then it clicked. A consultant at her law firm. The same firm connected to that number. He hadn't just been advising her, he'd been moving the money through channels that weren't traceable. I kept building. Backups, printouts, timestamps, all clean, clear, unchallengeable. Then I did one more thing. I stopped accessing the accounts completely. No logins, no changes. If she checked, it needed to look like I'd given up. At the same time, I set one final step in motion. A formal audit request, filed quietly, scheduled for after the court ruling. Not before, after. Because timing was everything. She thought she'd walk away clean. I made sure she'd walk straight into something she couldn't escape. When we went back to court, everything was in place. Laura looked relaxed. More than relaxed, confident. So did her lawyer. The judge opened with routine questions, assets, agreements, positions. Laura answered fast, like she'd rehearsed it. Daniel had no direct involvement in our finances, she said. I managed everything. I stayed silent. Do you disagree? The judge asked me. I shook my head. No, Your Honor. That caught her off guard. Her lawyer started watching me more closely. Then they submitted their financial summary. Clean, minimal, exactly as planned. Minimal assets, no flagged connections. The judge reviewed it, then looked up. Mr. Reeves, would you like to add anything? This was the moment she'd be waiting for. The moment I was supposed to react. I didn't. I pulled out a single document and set it on the table. Just this, I said. Silence. The judge's expression changed. Counselor, he said, are you aware of this filing? Her lawyer hesitated. Then he looked again. The confidence was gone. This wasn't disclosed, he said. No, it wasn't, the judge replied. Laura leaned forward. What is that? No one answered. Right away. The judge kept turning pages. Transfer trails, linked accounts, the name Evan Peak. Her face went rigid. This shows an active audit order, the judge said slowly, filed ahead of today's hearing. He looked at her lawyer, along with indications of undisclosed asset transfer. Silence, heavy, final. The judge set the documents down. Nothing gets finalized today. This case is going to a full financial review. Laura turned to her lawyer. He didn't answer, because this wasn't her ending. It was the start of the collapse. There was no explosion in the courtroom. No drama. Just the kind of silence that settles in when everyone understands exactly what just happened. Laura didn't look at me once. The investigation moved fast. Accounts were audited, transfers traced, connections established. Evan Peak didn't stay quiet for long. Within a few weeks, everything fell apart. Every transfer, every decision, every step, all accounted for. The case was reassessed, full disclosure, consequences, legal fallout. I didn't ask for more than what was mine. I didn't need to. What belonged to me came back. What didn't stay where it belonged. At the final hearing, I saw her again. She looked tired, not angry, just worn down, like she'd finally understood. The plan hadn't worked. On the way out, she said, "You knew." I looked at her. I saw enough. That was all. No speech, no victory lap. Just the truth.